Hello everyone. In this video, I will go over my solution to the problem named Bad Luck Island. This problem is taken from a Codeforces Div 2 contest and is rated 1900. I chose this problem because this problem can be used to show how dynamic programming can be used to solve probability problems. Also, sometimes DP solutions can be implemented more naturally using recursion and memoization, which I will show in my code. And thirdly, in this problem we need 3 DP states instead of 1, which makes it more interesting. So let's look at the problem statement. So in this problem, we are given an island which is inhabited by 3 kinds of species: rocks, scissors and papers. Initially there are R rocks, S scissors and P papers. At some moments of time, two of these individual meet and all pairs of individuals can meet with equal probability. If they belong to different species, then one individual will kill the other. So a rock would meet a scissor to kill the scissor would kill the paper, and the paper would kill the rock when they meet. Now we need to print 3 real numbers as the output. And these 3 numbers are the probability that only rocks remain in the end. The second line of output would be the probability that only scissors remain in the end. And the third line in the output would be the probability that only a paper remains in the end. So these are the 3 probabilities which we need to print. So in the sample test case, we are given R is 2, S is 2 and P is 2. So since there are equal number of rocks, papers and scissors, obviously there would be an equal chance of any one of them surviving. So this means that the probabilities of all 3 remaining in the end are equal. And equal to 1 by 3, which is 0.33. So that's what we would print in the end. And as you can see, the first line of output is 0.333, 0.333 and 0.333. Also, we need to print the output to precision of 9 decimal places, and we need to output them in one line, so 3 space separated probabilities. So in the full solution, so our state should contain R, S and P, which are the number of rocks, scissors and papers remaining in the end. And that's all that we need in our state. Let's look at how the transition would happen. First case is that a rock, one rock, and so basically a rock and a scissor would meet. This implies that the new state would be R minus 1, would be R, S minus 1 and P. This is because a rock would kill a scissor, so there would be one less scissor. Similarly, in the second case, we would have a scissor and a paper meeting. This implies that the new state would be R, S and P minus 1 because a paper would lose against a scissor. And in the third case, we would have a paper and a rock meeting. This means that the new state would be R minus 1, S and P. This is because the paper would kill the rock. And these are the 3 transitions we need to make. So based on this, let's define 3 DP states. So let DP1 RSP be the probability that a rock remains the survivor in the end. And similarly, DP2 RSP is the probability that a scissor survives, and DP3 RSP would be the probability that a paper survives, And notice that in our transition we didn't consider the case when two rocks would meet, because in that case the two rocks would not kill each other and they would remain the same, so it doesn't make sense to consider that in our cases. So only these three cases are there. So these are essentially our transition and this is our DP state. And now one additional thing which we need to make sure is that we know what our base cases are. So our transition is clear. Now let's look at our base case. So in the base case, dp1 of 0, S and P would be 0 because no rocks are left. Similarly, dp2 of R 0 and P is 0, and dp3 of R, S and 0 is 0. So that's the first part of our base case. And in the second part of our base case, we would need to take into account the case when a rock remains in the end. So in part 2 of our base case, so if there was some amount of rocks left, so basically dp1 of R and 0, 0 is 1 because only rocks are left. dp2 of, similarly for the other two cases when we would have some number of scissors left and some number of papers left and the other two were 0, then those dp values would be 1. And now let's look at the probability part of the question. So let's come back to our transition. We know that these are the states which we need to make the transition to, but let's analyze our transition a bit more to understand how we would compute the probabilities. So analyzing our transition, the probability of event A happening is the number of ways A can happen divided by total number. That's the definition of the how we normally define what a probability is. So let's store the total. So total will be, so total number of interactions will just be R into S plus S into P plus P into R. And this is because when a rock and a scissor meet, there are R rocks and S scissors. So there are R into S ways in which a rock and a scissor can meet, because a rock and a scissor can meet in R into S number of ways. And similarly, a scissor and a paper can meet in S into P ways, and a rock and paper can meet in P into R ways. So this means the total possibilities would be R into S plus S into P plus P into R. So this is so our denominator or our total is R into S plus S into P plus P into R, and the number of successes. So in case 1, when we are doing dp1, we would need to do R into S divided by R into S plus S into P plus P into R, and this is the number of ways in which, so this is the probability that a rock meets a scissor, and this goes to state R S minus 1 P. And the other case is that if a scissor meets a paper, then this is the probability that a scissor meets a paper. That a scissor meets a paper, and this goes to state R, S and P minus 1. And in the last case, if a paper meets a rock, then that happens with probability R into P, and the denominator will always remain the same because this is the total number of ways, and this is the probability that a rock meets a paper, and this goes to state R minus 1, S and P. So these are the three cases which we need to consider when we are computing DP1 or DP2 or DP3, it doesn't matter. But the main thing to understand is that only our base cases change. So when we are computing DP1 or DP2 or DP3, the same transition would apply, but our base cases would change as I've said. So the thing to observe is that only base cases differ for DP1, DP2 and DP3. Transitions remain the same. So in the last part of our solution, I will implement the DP solution using recursion plus memoization. Because our DP tables will get repetitive, and it's more intuitive to implement the solution recursively in this problem. So let's look at the code to understand how I'm doing this. So in the code, first I take in the input R, S and P. I take it in through Cin. Then I compute solve 1 of RSP, solve 2 of RSP and solve 3 of RSP, which are 3. So solve 1, solve 2, solve 3 are the 3 recursive functions to compute the 3 DP tables. So let's look at each of the functions. Each of the 3 functions are almost identical, so I'll explain one in detail and I'll go over the others faster. So in the first solve function, we have int R, int S, int P. Those are our parameters. So if the DP value is not yet evaluated, so this is the memoize. So this is returning if DP1 of RSP has already been computed. If it's already been computed, if it's not -1, then we return it. So basically I've initialized them to -1, and that means that it's not yet been computed. And hence if it's not -1, if it's been computed, then we return it. If R is 0, so this was our base case part 1. If R is 0, then the probability is 0. And if R is greater than 0, but S and P is 0, then we return DP1 of RSP is 1. Now, in the case that S or P can be 0, and hence all stores the possible meeting points for two individuals whose species are not 0. So that basically means that so in the whiteboard I explained to you that there was R into S plus S into P plus P into R. If these 3 were non-zero, if the 3 was 0, then we need to take care of it in a different way. So in that case, what we would need to do is, if some of the species were empty, then we would not count them in our total and in our possibilities. And that's all that I'm implementing in my code. So coming back to the code, what we are just doing is that if the number of rocks is greater than 0 and the number of scissors is greater than 0, then only they can meet. R and S can meet only when R is greater than 0 and S is greater than 0. That's why we would count this in our all variable. Then we would also increment p into r if p is greater than 0 and r is greater than 0, and p into s if s is greater than 0 and p is greater than 0. Then we would reinitialize dp1 rsp to 0, and then we would then there were three cases which I mentioned, which is basically if s is greater than 0, then r and s are meeting. If p is greater than 0, then r and p meet, and this would be the probability that they meet into the probability that r wins in the end. Similarly, this would be if s into p, if r and p meet, then that the probability that they meet into the probability that r wins after they meet. And in the final thing, we have s and p meet. In the final case, we have if s and p meet, then we would add the probability that they meet. So this is basically what I'm basically computing is probability of any two meeting into dp1 of r minus 1 s. So basically probability of any two meeting into next case. So in the third case, that's what I'm doing. I'm just saying the probability that s and p meet is s into p divided by all, and into the next case would be r s and p minus 1. And in the final thing, in the final line of this code, I'm just returning dp1 rsp. And the exact same function happens in solve 2 and solve 3. So in solve 2, only the base cases change. And similarly in solve 3, only the base cases change. And that basically means over here we are returning if s is 0, over here we are checking if r is 0, and over here we are checking if p is 0. So you can check this code out for the base cases in the end. And few additional tips which I want to mention when we are using probabilities is that we should use long double instead of double or float, because it's more precise. And we also need to typecast all our values to long double whenever we are computing them, because integers won't be automatically typecast to long double. I mean, you have to typecast them over here. And then in the end, we also need to set a precision. So when we are outputting real numbers, do set precision 9 or set precision 12. I would always recommend doing set precision 12 because that always gives the most accurate result. So do set precision 12 and then some real number which you need to output. And that's all that you will normally use when you're outputting real numbers. And let's just submit this code to see that it gets accepted. So as you could see, this code got accepted. So in this problem, we learned three important ideas: that DP can be used to solve probability problems because we can model our probability recursively, which is the case in most probability and counting problems. The second thing which we learned is that we can use recursion with memoization, which is a more natural way to do normal DP problems. Recursion plus memoization will not work in problems in which we need to use optimizations. So like the second last and third last videos in which we needed to use some optimizations in our transition, we needed to implement it bottom up. So top down implementation, which is basically recursion, would not allow for such optimizations. And then the third key learning to take away is that we used 3 DP tables, and those 3 DP tables were similar to each other. And the reason why we used 3 DP tables was because they asked us to print 3 answers, which is the probability that rock, scissors and papers respectively would be the only surviving species. So I hope you liked the video and do consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you.